Alright, it's time for the solutions for the Graphing Simple Exponential Functions assignment, which looks something like this, and I'm gonna do this in black. Black works, alright? So this paper is kind of really pink. Bear with it if pink hurts your eyeballs, but if it doesn't, you like pink, that's cool too. So on number 1, here you need to graph f of x or y. You can put just a y there. Y equals 1/3 of 6 to the x power. What I highly recommend doing is making yourself a little t-chart here, and you just pick some x values. You should do some on the left side and some on the right side of your y-axis there. So I'm gonna do probably -2, 0. I'll do 1 and 4. I recommend doing like at least 4 different numbers so you can get a feel for how the exponential is growing. And you're going to take each of these numbers and you put it in for the x there. So the work part of this would be 1/3 times 6 to the -2 power. Well, 6 to the -2 power is the same thing as 1/6 squared, which is 1/36. And 3, so if you want to do 1/3 times 1/36, you have to do 3 times the 36, and that gives you 108. So we have a really small fraction, 1/108, and that's fine. That'll be like right on the axis. So right here at -2, 1/108 is like right on, practically on the x-axis there, really far down. Let's put in 0, so let's do 1/3 times 6 to the 0 power. Well, 6 is 0 power just like any other number, 0 power, except maybe not 0, is 1, so you have to do 1/3 times 1, which is just 1/3. And now let's put 1 in for the x there. 1/3 times 6 to the first power. 6 to the first is 6. 1/3 of 6 is 2. And let's do 1/3 times, that's a times, dot, 6 to the 4th power. Well, shoot, man. 6 to the 4th power is 1,296. Divide that by 3. Hold on. Divide that by 3. You're looking at 432. And so, and you can see how fast these exponentials grow. This second one's kind of a pain in the butt, and we really can't reach it. That's like way up there. And so if I plot the points that I have, 0, 1/3, and 1, 2, 1/3's looking about there, and 1, 2, it doesn't give me a very good feel. So let's do 2 real quick. 1/3 of 6 squared. Well, 6 squared is just 36, and a third of that, here, let's do 36, well, that's just going to be 12. So 2 goes to 12, so there we go, we got 12 there. So you're looking at this, man, this thing just shoots up really fast. It goes practically vertical almost instantaneously, so it grows really fast. Let's move on to 2. Again, let's do a t-chart, an x, a y, and we'll put some work there in the middle so you can see what's going on. Let's do like -2, 0, and 1, 2, and 3 to kind of get a feel for what's going on here. You just need to plug all these x's in for the x of your exponential part there. So you have to do 4 times 1/2 to the -2 power. Well, if you have a fraction and you give it a negative power, it just becomes, if you get a power like that, it's just going to be this flipped, so 2/1 to the positive power. So 1/2 to the -2nd power is going to be 2 squared, which is 4. So 4 times 4 is going to give me 16. And now when I plug in 0, 1/2 to the 0 power is just 1. So that's going to be 4, because 4 times 1. And you have to do 4 times 1/2 to the first power. Well, 1/2 to the first power is just 1/2. Half of 4 is 2. Let's do 4 times 1/2 to the second power. 1/2 to the second power is 1/4, and 4 times that is just 1. And hopefully you'll notice that if you do it to the third power, it's just half of the previous one. And that's going to give me just 1/2. And now that I have these points, I can graph them. Negative 2, 16. There's a point right there. And 0, 4 is right here. Right on the 4. And then 1, 2. And 2, 1. And 3, 1/2. Your graph is going to come down really fast. Kind of like all exponentials. And it'll look something like that. And let's move on to 3. Again, let's set up a T-chart here. Well, less T-chart and more H-ish chart. Anyway, pick some values for your x's. Let's do like negative 2. I kind of like that setup. It's negative 2, 0, 1, 2, and 3. It gives us a feel kind of like on both sides. And having more on the right side just kind of helps know what's going on that side. So now I have to do 4 times 2 to the negative second power. Remember, when you have a negative power, like 2 to the negative second, that's the same as 1 over 2 to that same power but positive. And so 2 to the negative second is the same thing as 1 over 2 to the second, and that's just 1/4. And you got 4 times that, it gives you 1. And now we can plug in 0 in for the x. 2 to the 0 power is just 1. 4 times that is 4. Now we have to do 4 times 2 to the first. 2 to the first is 2 times 4 gives us 8. And we have to do 4 times 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. And hopefully you can guess that the next one's just going to be 32. Because that's 4 times 2 to the third. And 2 to the third is just 2 times 2 to the second. So that's 16 times, that's 8 times the 4 gives us 32. So now we have our points, negative 2, 1, and then 0, 4, and 1, 8, and 2, 16, and 3 goes up to 32. It doesn't even fit on here, so I'm not even going to bother drawing that. Here's my exponential, and as you come down, make sure it does shallow out like so. So there's my exponential. And let's move on to 4. Your job on this whole assignment is just to graph them. Let's do some negative 2, 0, 1, 2, 3 again. I just like that. It's been working out pretty well for me. You just need to take it and plug it into your function here for the x part. 2 to the negative second. Well, we already figured out what that was last time. That's 1/4. Times it by the negative 5. You're looking at negative 5/4. Now we got negative 5 times 2 to the 0th power. 2 to the 0 is just 1. Negative 5 times that gives us negative 5. And then we got negative 5 times 2 to the first. 2 to the first is 2. Negative 5 times that is negative 10. And we're going to have negative 20, negative 40. I know that because I'm just adding, my power is just going up by 1 each time. So if you have 2, the next power up is your previous one times 2. So this is 2 squared, which is 4, times the negative 5 gives me 20. 2 to the third is 8, times negative 5 is negative 40. So now I have my points here, and I can start graphing them. I go to negative 2, and I have negative 5/4, which is just a little bit more than, well, a little bit less than negative 1. And I have 0, negative 5, which is right there. And then I have 1, negative 10, which is right there. And then I have 2, negative 20, and that's all the way down here. And so, here, let me draw that part, and then the other side is going to go like this. Just like that. And there's my exponential for 4. And let's do 5 real quick while we're at it. before we switch to the next video. Pick some x's. Let's do -2, 0, 1, 2, 3. And we have to do -2 times 1/2 to the negative second power. We already talked about that, what that means. That's the same thing as 2 squared, which is 4 times the -2, gives me -8. And have to do -2 times 1/2 to the 0th power. -2 times 1 is just -2. And I have to do -2 times 1/2 to the first power, which is just 1/2. So it's going to give me -1. -2 times 1/2 to the second power is going to be -1/2. Because that's going to give me 1/4, and 1/4 of -2 is -1/2. And now -2 times 1/2 to the third, that's an 1/8 of 2 of -2, which is -1/4. So I'm just going to go down my points here and graph these real quick. So I have x of -2 and y of -8. I'm going to have a x of 0, y of -2. And then an x of 1, y of -1. And then I have -1/2, which is hard to draw. And then -1/4, which is even closer. And my graph's gonna look something like this. And it just grows really, really fast. And there's our first video.